Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Reserve time.
Good evening, guys. Welcome back to the CSL. My name is Toffees. For Game 2, you can find me at Toffees TV. You can find my partner in crime at the Wonder Cow Gorgon. Game 2 on the way. But before we get too into it, let's briefly mention a big shout out to our sponsors, Band, the social app of the CSL, Ace Republica Gamers, and Twitch for making it all possible. Let's talk, man. Game 1 was very lopsided. What are you looking at Game 2?
You know, the transition out of the laning phase is really what did Denver in. They did okay, and like the game was not beyond salvation after the laning phase or during the laning phase, right? They ran a very risky, aggressive tri-lane, ended up doing okay in it. It wasn't a win by any means, but they certainly did,
10 seconds to go.
you know, the most important goals that they had put into place with that aggressive tri-lane. They got done. They dampened the Luna's farm. They didn't give her a major advantage. They took the first tower, right? But they did not transition out that laning phase very smoothly at all. So what I'd really like to see them do is maybe play a more traditional, 2-1-1 roamer style play that's a little easier to hit your timing windows and try to focus very heavily on making sure that the team is all on the same page once that transition begins to happen.
Definitely. Now, we did see, I expected a TA Respect ban to come out of Denver. They did not give that. They did get rid of the Luna. They had no desire to deal with her again. And I think, a strong ban on the LD who's very, very annoying right now. He's I wouldn't call him an instant win button at this level, but he is very difficult to deal with. On the opposite side, Cal says, well, if we're not going to run the CK support, neither can you. And it looks like they're really trying to limit the control of Denver in terms of stopping them from executing what looks, I think it's going to be a big team fight strategy. When you are getting rid of Earthshaker and a Darkseer, it says, I want you to not have control once initiation starts.
Well, the Darkseer pairs really well with the Wyvern as well, right? Like you throw down a Winter's Curse and then you can pull everybody into it. That's pretty good. So you don't want your opponents to have that kind of a combo. Right. The Earthshaker pairs really well with the Ember Spirit because Ember Spirit does, with the current build, the modern build is very magic damage heavy. So you're already amplifying a bunch of magical damage. And then you also have the initiation of the Earthshaker. You can knock out 5 heroes with only 2. Right. So they are getting rid of some stuff that pairs up well, either inadvertently or intentionally. Right now, Slardar's not a huge team fight hero. He's more of a picking style hero. Same for Rubik. Although both can contribute to team fights with a big Slithering Crush. Slardar obviously changes his tune a little bit, but ideally he likes to fight enough people that he can get Corrosive Haze on all of them. So no more than 2 or 3.
All right, so it looks like we're waiting on the last bans. Wraith King banned out by CAL. That's an interesting ban. What is your take on that one?
I think that's probably just a comfort ban, trying to get rid of something that Denver like to run. Maybe they've done some research.
Okay,
I mean, he's a very successful hero, right?
What is his? Do you know what his success rate is right now, off the top of your head? I haven't had a chance to look.
Like overall success rate, I don't know, but I know he's over 50% at like 4K level. Okay. So I know he's near 60% at really low levels of play, like sub 2K levels. I think he's right around 50% at 5K, and he goes down the more skillful you are.
Right. Again, though, I think that they don't like the idea of him slowing down the potential fight pacing that CAL has. One of his greatest strengths, obviously, is that he never just lets go when he goes down. Underlord picked up by CAL. I like this get. I think that he is a very strong hero. I know he's a very strong hero, and he provides both team fight and heavy push potential. My question is, what position do you think they're going to play him in?
Offlane, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably a support Slardar, a support Rubik, and offlane Underlord. That's typically how he's run. Yeah.
That also reads to me as a really strong aggressive tri-lane, potentially. So it should be pretty interesting. Or he can obviously hold lane by himself, and they can pick up an aggressive tri. We know Cal likes to do it. We saw him messing with it last time. And they bring that out against their opponents until proven otherwise.
Aggressive tri last time. It
Say
was
what?
Denver.
Oh, okay.
Denver did their aggressive tri-lane last time. Underlord is moderately level dependent, so you don't usually want to throw him into an aggressive tri-lane. Like, he's got the damage for it, theoretically, but you'd have to get a lot of kills to offset the lack of experience. Because kills don't give you that much experience in the early game, they just give you good gold, right? So if you have a pretty level-dependent hero that you really want to get up to 8 or 9, you typically don't want to put him into any sort of tri-lane.
Fair point. Now, I do think Rubik pairs very well with the Underlord in terms of his control and the ability to put heroes back into the pit so that they're rooted at minimum of 3 times if the pit is placed correctly, possibly more, which if you've got a hero like Slardar with the sprint and the damage potential, it is just very, very tough to deal with. Storm Spirit now comes out, and I like the speed of what CAL's putting together. It's very, in my opinion, opposite of what we saw last time around, which is a lot of tankiness, a lot of sort of slow build-up in these team fights. This one's, I think they're going to be in, out, and very, very aggressive.
Yeah, University of Denver also have an interesting synergy going on, right? You got the Lifestealer who can jump inside the Ember Spirit. Ember Spirit's going to go in with a lot of magic damage, and then the burst with the Lifestealer bombing out of it. Cute animal lovers do need to be very careful about potentially trying to team fight here. I do think that pick and push is probably going to be their game plan, especially with the Storm and the Slardar.
All right, so if the Denver pattern holds, they'll pick up a blue hero here. Which one is it going to be? That's it. What are they looking for right now? What are they looking to shore up the lineup? They've got the Wyvern in support. They've got 2 of their cores out here. Do they need more stun? Do they need more control? Do they need more pace, push? What are you looking for if you're Denver?
They absolutely could deal with a little bit more stun. Alternatively, they could deal with a little more. Right now, all they have is the Ember Spirit. They're going to go for the Ogre Magi. It is something blue. It does have the stun, and it gives them some push. I think that it's a valuable pickup.
Absolutely. Fits the color scheme and the stun potential. The push, obviously, Bloodlust is great with Lifestealer as well as Ember Spirit, depending on what stage of the game you're in. A very strong hero and really tanky, so he works well with this sort of lineup that's going to last a little bit longer in these fights because of how tanky he is in the early game. Last band's coming up, Cute Animal Lovers, I presume looking to get rid of that off lane. What are you thinking Denver's looking for in that off lane position?
Well, if I'm looking at the color scheme, I'm thinking Axe, right? Because he's the red that goes off when it comes to mind.
Right.
But if I'm just generally speaking, what don't I want to deal with? If I'm Cute Animal Lovers, maybe I consider banning on him. Well, there it is.
Well, there goes the color scheme planning.
I was going to say, maybe I consider banning out a Necrophos, maybe I consider banning out an Axe. The Axe can be pretty good against Storm Spirit. He's not great against Slardar, but he's also decent against Underlord in that people are going to group around that Underlord to try and escape, and you get one last call to try and knock somebody out before they get away.
A lot of right clickers on the side of CAL as well, and from Underlord and Slardar, so it sort of puts an onus if you get that on the last pick of Berkeley. That said, Berkeley very smartly bans it out. Juggernaut going to get banned by CAL. They know that right now what CAL is looking for is very likely going to be that big dog for the late game, the heavy hitter, the super crusher. What do you think these two teams are going to be picking up in these spots?
Lycan's not in captain's mode yet, right? I believe he's not in captain's mode.
I didn't see anybody added this week.
So animal lovers. Animal lovers really, they need something to knock towers out, right? So I guess they could pick up, well, no, they can't pick themselves up a Dro. They can't pick themselves up a Luna. Maybe they could just go late game and pick up a Spectre, but I'm not positive that that's the best game plan. They are up a game, so they can be a little bit risky. And Spectre isn't a hero that's particularly worried about team fight because she doesn't have to be there if she doesn't want to.
Absolutely. And you know, I think with the way that CAL's got a very aggressive 4, well, never mind. They're going to go super aggressive 5, and they grab the Weaver. A lot of damage output potential. We'll probably pick up that Desolator relatively quickly. What do you think of the Weaver pick?
You know, I almost said Weaver, but then I was like, you don't really pick up a Weaver into this because there's so much that a BKB or a Lincoln Sphere does not defend against here. You're not going to defend against the magical damage from Ember Spirit because it's not targeted unless you pick up a BKB. You're not going to defend against the Winter's Curse because Winter Wyvern can curse one of your teammates. You're not going to defend against Lifestealer because he's mostly right-click. You're not going to defend against the Bloodlust that comes out of the Ogre Magi or the Reverse Polarity. Like, there's a lot of ways that Weaver can get locked in, even if he goes for a traditional Lincoln Sphere build. So we might end up seeing this Weaver go greedy into just a damage build and try to outpace his opponents instead of just being too difficult to kill.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get the maps loaded up here. Everything seems to be working. Thank Lord Gaben, and let's do some quick introductions. It looks like we are going to have Cal on the Radiant and Denver on the Dire. Make sure those overlays are lined up. Is there still a bug that sort of
the other way around?
All right.
Denver on the Radiant and Cal on the Dire.
Perfect. So that is adjusted. Let's do some quick... they need to fix this bug. Anyway, I'm not going to get to that. Let's do some quick introductions for these two teams. Denver.
Oh, hold on. Real nice smoke ward placement here from Aqua. He walked right up, and they didn't even see him. Really great placement. Sorry, go on.
That's fine. Nice place to make sure they're not coming in to contest this rune. That said, for the guys from Denver, we're going to have Don Juan Diddly Dong playing, sorry, the Magnus. That name really got me, man. Z-King going to be playing the Ember Spirit. Mrs. Saints Blue playing the Life Stealer. DU.Oak playing the Ogre Magi. And last but not least, Saint Blue playing the Winter Wyvern. Do you think that's actually his wife playing the Life Stealer?
Maybe. Or it could be his mom.
Ooh, good point. All right, quick introduction for Dire. Let's get this thing underway.
All right, so for CL on the Dire side in the off lane, we are going to have Blackjack crawling out of the pits on the Underlord. K-Set is going to be doing the Electric Boogaloo on the Storm Spirit. And up top in our tri-lane, we've got Aqua on the Rubik. Delicious Dog Don Beret on the Slardar, and last but not least, Endure bugging out on the Weaver.
I'm gonna let you talk because my Dota crashed.
Oh, I can do that all day long, my friend. A mid lane, this is an interesting matchup that we've been seeing more and more of. Both heroes really have decent harass potential, but Ember has, I think, an edge until level 6, at which point Storm Spirit becomes much more difficult to kill. So Ember should do all right in that lane. He's just got a little bit more controlled burst. Up here in the top lane, this Weaver is a very level dependent hero. And remember in the draft, I said, never mind, Underlord's already dead.
Well, you know, I loaded on top lane. Had I been lucky enough to load on bottom lane, we would have caught that. But a good first blood coming out for the Radiant, opposite of last time. So they definitely are off to a better start. Let's talk mid matchups in the Spirits Throwdown. Who's going to have the advantage and how important is this lane?
Well, as I said, I think that the Ember Spirit should do fine up until about level 6, and then Kay said probably has some maneuverability to do well, but we saw last game, I mean, Z-King was on the Timbersaw last game, and he died unnecessarily, I would argue, to the Centaur a couple of times solo. So maybe a bit of an aggressive player, overly aggressive player, and he is playing against some pretty high skill level opponents now. His pubs and practice days may not have adequately prepared him for dealing with equally skilled opponents. Maybe he's used to pubbing against people that are a little bit below his skill level, and as such, he needs to adjust his play.
So we'll see if he makes the adjustment down the bottom. Blackjack and Oak going a little bit back and forth. These on the right clicks. Oak obviously can do that. Ogre's so his regeneration's so ridiculous at this stage of the game. We'll keep an eye on that. It looks like we see a rotation here. Smoke, Aqua, and Don Buri headed towards the mid. They want to make the move. K-Said tries to walk away. Ember comes in, picked up, thrown down. St. Blue comes to help, but not quite fast enough. Hopes to finish. K-Said not going to happen. And now St. Blue a little bit in a dangerous pickle as he loses half his health and has to back off. So both teams plan a rotation, but this just in, newsflash, the smoke rotation more effective and significantly faster.
So St. Blue did two things there that kind of throw a few warning bells off for me. First of all, he was 2 right clicks away from killing Case and he backed out to save his life.
Mm-hmm.
I'd argue that you probably kill the Storm Spirit and trade your support at that stage, right? Like that's a more important kill. Now, granted, it's not a guaranteed kill; it's a risk, but it's a risk I think most players would make in the successful brackets of CSL. And the other thing that he did there was when he had extradited himself, he threw Splinter Blast onto the Storm Spirit to blow the wave back, but didn't actually damage the Storm Spirit because that's how that spell works.
We're going to go to bottom real quick. I think they're making a move here on Blackjack. Blackjack in some trouble, gets slowed down, puts up his nuke, but it's not going to be nearly enough. Oak and Mrs. Saint's Blue just rip him to shreds. My apologies. Continue.
No, I was just going to say I wonder if St. Blue is very familiar with this hero.
Yeah, that was going to be my read as well, that it seems like he knows him, but maybe he's not one of his pockets.
We do have a smoke coming around behind the Magnus, trying for a reprisal onto an offlane, but Magnus is a much better traditional offlane than the Pit Lord.
There they go.
Has some escapes.
Pick up, throw back, the follow stun, nicely executed. Gonna moat for the run. Takes the bad guys with him though, and that may be his trouble. Nice turnaround. We're gonna see the run back from Weaver and a great escape by Don Bori. Dyer definitely working these smoke gank attempts though, and pretty effectively. I mean, yes, Magnus got away, but it hurt him deep.
That was well, he's gonna go Shrine, so it's not that big of a deal. This is about the stage in the game where you'd expect that Shrine to be used anyway. It costs a smoke and a rotation.
That's true.
And you heard me saying good during that. Actually, there's gonna be another Shrine fight potentially here.
Denver is like, nope, not fighting up to the Sanctuary. Last time that did not go well.
Guys. That's our play. You don't trick the trickster. And now it's just high ground to high ground all day long. They know the Shrine is down now, though, so they can charge up and try to get the Slaughter.
Oak can get him. He's burning down. He's going to go. So that's a nice kill there. Blackjack gets slowed. Oak on the block. They're going to be able to finish Blackjack off and get a double right now. No TPs coming to that Sanctuary.
Yeah, who's going to come in, right? The Storm, who has basically no mana if he TPs. The Weaver, who is only level 4 and is trying to farm. Aqua could have come, but he's only level 2, so he would have just died with them. It was just a bad fight, honestly, for Cal to take. They should not have chased on to their opponent's high ground.
Gold already at a 1,500 advantage coming out for the Denver University. So they're doing pretty well here, making some really good plays. What is their pacing? It seems like they're in a little bit of a better need to sort of be aggressive than last time around. But what are they looking to accomplish here in the first 20 minutes?
So I would say around 8 or 9 minutes, they're going to start to want to apply pressure onto one of these lanes. By 11 minutes, they probably want to have knocked down a tower. And they're going to try to move on Blackjack again.
They did move on. They went on him. Slaughter was hidden in the trees. They decided not to go too deep there, so they will back away. Zeking and K-Said still going hard head-to-head here. In the mid, K-Said doing better than Zeking, but not by as much as we did in the last game.
Yeah, well, the last game, Zeking was offlane, I believe. So this isn't a matchup player on player that we've seen yet. Unless K-Said was also offlane, was he? No, he was.
No, K-Said was the Templar.
Yeah. So
that's right.
This is a new matchup for both of them, and like I said, I think Zeking might be used to playing against slightly lower bracket players, and maybe he is a higher bracket player in terms of his innate skill because he is very confident, and that confidence you usually see in players that are used to kind of dominating their lane. But it's not really working out for him as well this time around, and I'd like to see them rotate to help him once or twice more.
Now it looks like to the bottom where they can start to push if they want to, but they're pretty content to just let Mrs. St. Blue go ahead and rack up that farm, already at 3K net worth, feeling pretty comfortable, though the Storm Spirit and the Weaver doing well in their own right. Let's jump to the middle, keep an eye on these two as they continue to go back to back. Now his opponent Z-King pinging, saying, I'm worried about a gank right now. Pink is missing, and doesn't need to worry, but smart. Always looking to make sure that doesn't happen, doesn't get him caught out. Endure taking damage, get pushed back by Don Juan, but decides to turn and come back towards his opponents. Will find St. Blue. St. Blue might be in some trouble. He is. Nice turn by Weaver in the invis. Will probably get the double out of this. Will took Slaughter. Bad luck.
Really nice rotation from the Storm, and that one rotation offsets all of the damage that these early game kills have done to them, right? The Storm gets a little bit of extra. She's now almost 1,000 net worth ahead of the Ember Spirit, the laning opponent, which means that he's going to have more ability to kind of rotate around and leave the Ember to his own devices without falling behind.
And that Storm Spirit obviously gets up and running with that 1,000 gold really fast, right? Ember Spirit's going to need a few things to really get himself going. Storm Spirit's already ready to start taking these fights, and I think that could spell some real trouble for Denver up until the 15-minute mark as he's going to start rotating and just eradicating heroes. Storm Spirit, one of those that can just sort of erase you off the board when you're not even close to expecting it.
Yeah, once the Ember Spirit gets the Veil of Discord and has level 10, that's really where he gets going, right? Level 10 plus 15% spell amplification. That's the moment.
Lifestealer is such a good answer for this Underlord.
I mean, but I almost said Pit Lord. Underlord, honestly, like, he's an okay offlaner in that he really just needs levels, but he's not a very survivable offlaner. He doesn't have a lot to offer as an offlaner, and if your opponents play with any level of coordination,
well, I mean, when you play the Underlord offlane, your only benefit is that you can effectively zone your opponent to get last hits if you're good, and you have the escape potential of your Pit of Malice. The problem is that means nothing to Silencer. Silencer is like, I don't even care what you cast on me. I'm gonna rip you apart while you think you're in a safe zone, and that's definitely apparent. It's gonna get even worse once his Infest is up and running.
Yeah, for the Lifestealer matchup, he is a very good pairing, but even just good support rotations make life very difficult.
St. Blue gets caught by the Slaughter and Aqua. They pick him up and toss him back, but the rest of the crew is there to help out. So, Oak sends in a little debuff just to let Rubik know maybe this isn't a fight you want to take right now. Blackjack comes in, does some harassing on Lifestealer. He'll just walk away, no big deal. Ember will continue to farm up in the mid, and the fight looks like it's headed towards the top. We got 3 and a massive rotation. I wouldn't call it a secret rotation, but it's a rotation nonetheless. The cat out the Winter Wyvern. He goes ahead and gets himself into the crystal and will survive for a little while, but potentially not long enough. Endure now here. Pushback comes out from Magnus, tries to get away, but in jumps K-Sed, pulling everyone to their deaths. Don Juan gets a nice grab, but it's not going to matter as they end up losing all 3. So the 3-man push, you know, it was a long rotation. They slow walked all the way up here, and we're still able to get those guys, all 3 of them.
Yeah, and the way that they ended up positioning, like the Magnus was here, the Ogre was here, but the Wyvern was on the other side of the tree.
Yeah.
When they came up on the Wyvern, there was no help there. They started to panic. They started running all the way around instead of just letting the Wyvern die. The whole thing was just an absolute mess. And
it reminded me a lot of Denver's Super Bowl run last year. A complete disaster once things started to go wrong for them. So gold lead is now on the side of Cal. It's been about a 3-ish thousand gold swing over the last 5 minutes. And Cal really started to set the pace of this game. Is there anything that you do to keep control here? Cal's obviously executing better right now. What do you do as Denver to kind of stop their pace? Because we know what happens if you let Cal get out of control.
Well, Veil Discord will be up any minute now.
Absolutely.
Like literally by 12 minutes they'll be up. But remember, I said around 9 minutes they'll probably start to pressure a tower. And they did. They pressured their opponent's safe lane right around 9 minutes, and it didn't work. I said around 11 minutes they really need to have a tower down, and they don't. So the fallback plan on that is get aggressive warding up, have this Ember Spear blow some people apart, and really start to strip away control of the map by threat of nuke damage,
Right.
which is much more difficult to do if you have not knocked towers down.
Right, and it's also easier said than done, is sort of taking that away here. Endur's going to go ahead and defend against Don Juan as Don Juan starts to lay into this tower. Would really like to take it down, but no rotations for help. Meanwhile, K-Sag going to go ahead and farm some jungle, as will Blackjack, who is very low. Looks like he is prepping himself to go ahead and use some Sanctuary.
Yeah. And the Sanctuary is available, and the Sartor is going to rotate over, even though he's full health and mana.
Looks like he's at base.
Wow, he's going to go all the way back to base with that Sanctuary ready. Okay.
So,
He does-
priorities, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't have Dark Rift up, or a TP. So this was an interesting call. Maybe I'll come back to it. No, yeah, this was an interesting call that he used the Shrine here for efficiency, but he didn't have a TP and the Courier was out of the base, so he has to walk back to the fountain to get the TP anyway. So he just blew a Shrine for no reason. Like that's the little moments where you go, oh, efficiency. You do have to think ahead. It can't just be habit.
Absolutely. All right, so Gold Lead is actually dead even. XP is about the same. On paper, these teams are about tied with each other. Oh, hold on. Let's go to the bottom where Don Burry's in some trouble. Saints Blue and OK both come in, taking a lot of damage. Can they finish him before the TP gets there? They can. Immediately turn and run. Oak may be sacrificed, but misses Saints Blue. Going to get out of this with no problem. And Oak not even going to run to trouble, so they get the kill and get out. Meanwhile, up on top, Don Juan is going to just barely survive with a nice combo from Saints Blue to make sure that he gets himself out of trouble. So both Dire tries to stop both sides of the map, and in splitting, are unable to kill anyone.
The Dire should be able to get something out of this, though, because now they know that the Wyvern's ult is down, right?
That is true.
Moreover, Saints Blue missed what he was trying to cold embrace, I think the Magnus, that he missed and hit a creep. Another play that just makes you think, this player might not be super familiar with this hero.
Z-King goes for Kessid. Don Burry's got to back off. Saw the TP coming out. Z-King thinking about re-engaging. Nice steal by Aqua. Goes headfirst into Oak. Pulls him up, throws him towards the tower, but not going to be able to have much follow-up there. Really nice play, though, by the Ember Spirit to go head-to-head with Storm and walk away. Just sort of nuking him down very, very well.
That's what I was talking about, right? As soon as he hits level 10, he gets the Veil Discord. He's able to blow anybody up. And this is really the moment where this Ember Spirit starts to stride. You had said earlier that the Storm Spirit doesn't quite need as much to get going. I don't think that's true with the modern Ember Spirit, because the Storm Spirit needs really 2 items.
That's true.
He needs the Bloodstone and he needs the Orchid, whereas Ember Spirit needs level 10 and 1 item. Now, granted, he needs the Boots to Travel in order to keep his farm up eventually and be able to actually move around and get a lot of kills, but his opponents can't move on him one at a time anymore once he hits level 10.
All right, let's take a quick look at the net worth. It's now back firmly in Denver's favor at 2K. If we look at items that have come out, it looks like we're going to have a mech up on the Underlord very soon here. The Dragonlance on the Weaver, in case you didn't catch it, as well as a Perseverance. Storm Spirit getting to the Orchid, but going to need a little while to finish that off. Lifestealer coming along nicely as well. I don't know. It seems like it's very evenly matched. Much more so than the last game. By 15 minutes last time, it was pretty clear that it was Cal's game to lose.
Yeah, I would say that the lanes went more heavily in favor of Denver, but that we are seeing a bit of the same pattern, right? The transition out of the laning phase has not been smooth for Denver. But granted, they had a bigger buffer zone, so it hasn't been quite as obvious. But if they don't get themselves out and relatively active relatively soon, it could be very easy to see them sliding the same way the last game went, just at a slower pace.
Definitely. All right, Z-King up here.
Rubik. There's no way this Rubik should be able to do this. But
No, going forward, tempts him forward.
The Storm to come in.
Big rotation.
Rubik was sitting there with no mana for a while, and Spirit was just kind of watching him. He either needed, like, that's obviously either a bait or an easy kill.
Right.
So you either need to decide to do it or back off. But sitting there and kind of being near him gets nothing done.
Right. Yeah. Unlike real life, just being next to somebody means absolutely nothing. Goal lead 1,000, XP back to even, a great kill there on the rotation. And that's what Berkeley does well. They keep their head about them. They rotate aggressively. Bottom tower now getting pushed. Will go down. No issues whatsoever. They take that. K-Said was trying to get a pick off on the courier, slightly mistimed it looked like, and says, I'll just farm up some creeps and then TP out of here. So he TPs to safety at the same time. Ember comes to hunt it.
Yeah, so Ember is actually going to be able to bottle up an illusion rune, which is pretty good for him. He can jump into some dangerous situations, blow a hero up on his way in, and then use the illusion rune in order more difficult for them to pin him down and blow him up, as they did the last time he was kind of hemming and hawing around that Rubik. I still can't believe he didn't just blow up that Rubik or back off, though. Like that was a real moment that kind of shattered my confidence in the decision making.
Especially in terms of
he earns it back.
Especially in terms of what we saw him do a minute and a half ago against the Storm Spirit with 3 friends. So like he knows he can do this. He had to have been worried about a bigger gank potential and just stuff himself in a tough situation. Endure comes forward, finds Donburi, harasses a little bit, and then goes back to safety. Let's take a look at anything new. Okay, there is the recipe for the Orchid. So Orchid is on its way out to the Storm Spirit right now. How massive is that pickup?
It's big. How big will be very dependent on how comfortable the Storm Spirit is with limited mana, because normally we see also the Bloodstone, but he's going to go kill Z-King right now.
All right, we see there they come towards the mid. Z-King backs away, but we see a smoke rotation, and they're going to walk into St. Blue with the smoke. St. Blue, wrong place, wrong time, and they get an easy kill, easier than what they would have ran into in the mid. So all of that smoke, they were like, yeah, this is not too shabby. Let's take this kill, huh? Endure's going to go ahead and run towards the mid. Should be a big tower push coming. Z-King walking from the trees. Not much he can do by himself, but there's the initiation. He catches everybody. Oh, my God. 4 men go down. Weaver comes in trying to clean up, but all he's gonna do is get mopped up himself. It's a team wipe, baby, as all of Dire goes down, and Radiant says, thanks for all the fish, cash me at your tier 2.
That is a hell of a blink reveal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that could not have been more perfect from Don Juan Diddly Dong. It's so good it's worth the name.
God, no shit. Sorry, Don Juan Diddly Dong.
Out of that as well. Wow, that's a 3,500 net worth swing. That's a net worth swing greater than the greatest lead that we've had so far in this game.
He could literally just sit on his hands and still be in the running for band player of the game after how big of an impact that had in this match. So if you're going to reveal a Blink Dagger, I guess that's the way to do it. And Lord Almighty, I thought going into that, I was like, oh, here comes UCB's breakaway. And boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, it only takes one big RP, which is why during the draft I had said, really, it looks like Cal are going to want to do this pick and push style thing. They're not really going to want to engage on multiple heroes if they can help it. They are going to try to harass Don Juan back, but what this ends up coming down to is that there were too many heroes there for Berkeley to engage.
Yeah.
They saw 3, which means there's probably more. That wasn't a fight that they should have been comfortable taking. But because they'd already knocked out the Wyvern, they thought, like, oh, we're pretty safe.
Right.
That's not the hero that you need gone in order to be safe.
Now, Wyvern's ultimate is down, but very aggressive. They're coming forward. Blackjack taking some damage. K-Said comes in aggressively, pushes forward. We see the Wyvern go down, and Dire backs just a little bit. They've got Weaver hiding from behind, pulls the creeps out to allow a little bit of a push forward here, and he'll immediately back away. So lots of respect being given to Denver, way more than the last game, especially after that incredible play that they made in the mid.
Yeah, if you see the Magnus, you can just back out. Like, we just saw the impact that a reverse polarity can have. There's no reason to fight into that. When you can just go and force a fight somewhere else. And he's going to get a big RP in the mid lane anyway. Not quite as good this time, but they do get the Weaver, and they'll probably get the Slugger as well. There it is.
Yeah. So nicely done. They get the double. The tower still stands, and the chase is on. We are going to see Rubik run for the high. Ember wants to take him down with the haste rune, but not going to happen as he manages to get himself out of there. K-Said looking to try to do something with his invis rune, but all he'll do is track his opponents backwards and sort of keep an eye on things.
That was a really, really nice play. Once again from Don Juan. Like, he showed himself top. They went to the mid lane. He TP'd mid immediately. Moved in with the RP while he did not have the support from the rest of his team. Just him and the Lifestealer, because he knew that would be enough. a lot of obfuscation around where he is and where the threat is.
Yeah.
And his positioning, honestly, has been what has kept Denver in this game.
Don Juan de Badass making things happen for Denver. 6,000 gold, XP 6,000, both to benefit him. Meanwhile, it's going to be a head-to-head. Rubik finds Z-King, or Z-King finds Rubik, depending how you look at it. Aqua will go down. Z-King will lick his chops, and Endure will run for the hills. Denver has become an unstoppable force, and University of California, Berkeley is just in there trying to figure out what to do about it.
Yeah, they're going to try to push a couple lanes while the RP is down. I think that's the right call. Make some trades, open up some space. Weaver is going for the build that I said that he would in the draft, right? He is going for just a lot of damage. He's going to try to endure his opponents rather than getting survivability. Were they dying defending? What were they doing? Oh, no, it was bottom. Okay.
Yeah, where Don Juan goes, death doth follow, I think is the ancient proverb that applies to what's happening right now. They tried the split push. You said they're doing the right thing, but they rotated smartly, utilized the new no tree destruction TP rule, and put that blink right on top of them.
Yeah, really the second that this top tower dropped, or even when the top tower was close to dropping, they should have backed out. A good team, and Don Juan is showing that he is very, very strong when it comes to his positional sense of this game.
Yeah.
Like, a good player is going to TP just before that tower drops, so that you don't get the warning of the tower dropping in order to tell you when to back up.
They go ahead and get the big initiation. They catch 3 inside of it. It was a good pit, but it's not going to matter right now. Radiant with the advantage enough that they can take those hits and back away. They force out a big rotation, everyone to defend that tower, and they'll go back and just get the regen at their sanctuary. So the guys from Denver playing this game exactly right. They get a nice little stack of Ancients here for Mrs. St. Blue. Man, I don't know. Denver at 9,000 gold advantage right now at 23 minutes. It's a polar opposite of what we saw in the last game. UC Berkeley feels a little tilted, but they're good at coming back from this. So what does UCB do to get themselves back into this thing?
You gotta buy time.
Yeah.
It's really what they need. They need some opportunities to find individual ganks, which is hard at this stage in the game because now their opponents want to just barrel roll down towers, right? So in order to get back in this game, they need to maybe split push a bit with the Weaver, who does have a Desolator up now. It is feeling okay, but not great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Lifestealer, Lifestealer's obviously doing better. He's got 3 full items instead of just the 2 of the Weaver, but Lifestealer is honestly not that big of a threat. It's really just the Ember and the Pit Lord.
St. Blue goes to the TP. It's not going to work. Picked up, thrown down, knocked from behind. St. Blue, not a lot that he can do outside of ulti range, but that's just going to buy him a little bit of time. Meanwhile, in the mid, Blackjack tried to get a split push, pops the ulti. He will die. And St. Blue, looks like, did he get out of that?
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. So they finish the job. Death comes to 2, and an easy kills all around from Denver, who just keeps expanding that gold lead, and UCB still trying to find the answer to all of their ailments.
They can't be out that far. They need to play safe, and it means that they're going to fall farther behind rather than catching up. But they need their opponents to overstep, and their opponents aren't going to overstep out here. Right. Their opponents are only going to overstep like here. So probably they're going to have to give up an Aegis. Probably they're going to have to give up outer tier towers and shrines. But when you're over 10k net worth behind at only 25 minutes, you're lucky to still be in the game at that stage. You really have to be willing to take a lot of losses before you catch back up and stand on the advantage of the high ground.
Denver showing us that they are willing to bounce back and put the work in. After that first game, would have been, I think, very easy for a team to feel somewhat demoralized by the way that laning phase and sort of pacing went. Denver, not letting it get to them, has come back in force, playing heroes that they know for the most part, and really doing an excellent job with them. Gold lead has climbed almost to 12,000 gold right now, and the itemization is significant in every way to the advantage of the Radiant. Endure finds St. Blue.
This is a weird Roche. Like, they're Roshing before they knock down the towers, even though they don't need it to knock down the towers. They will get it. It won't be contested. Had that been contested, that might have been a potential turnaround moment, because You can force out the RP relatively early, trade out maybe a Slardar for it, and then zip in the Storm afterwards.
Yeah,
would have been a very risky call, but that might have been a winnable fight.
So I think that they are trying to think outside of Berkeley's box. They know that Berkeley is going to be doing some split, try to find farm where they can, not be together, and was expecting a mid push. So by pulling off and going to Roche, they still showed mid with the Winter Wyvern. They knew that they would have at least half of the health bar unmolested, with UCB not thinking, hey, now's a great time to Roche. And it seems like it really paid off. So
yeah, certainly it paid off, and even though that was mid-fight, like it wouldn't have been a very fight for them. They are going to try to move on to the Magnus. There's no way they're going to get that in time, though, so they do need to back off.
Meanwhile, the tier 1 will go down to creeps here momentarily.
Oh, courier snap.
Looks like we lost one.
K-Said goes ahead and grabs a courier from behind. Up to the high ground. They are going to go. They catch. Oh, Blackjack is going to get absolutely melted. And we see Z-King go ahead and pause. I don't know if they're victory dancing or planning their next gank here. From behind.
So during this pause,
yeah.
This Underlord, and this is you heard some tones of criticism on this draft from me earlier in the game, and I think we have a pause. I haven't really felt his presence, and I think that's often the case in team games with the Underlord.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of pros at the Boston Major about specifically. I considered Underlord and a couple of other, Underlord and. The other guy, Arc Warden, who I can't even remember the name because he's so underwhelming. And every single pro that I talked to said, "Oh yeah, I think that's ready for Captain's Mode. In that we probably will never play it.
Right.
It's ready in that it's not broken. If anything, it's underwhelming.
Right.
Imagine how much better this game would be going if, for example, were Clockwork offlane. Would have been much more defensible. Probably wouldn't have died. Would have gotten the levels. Would have been hanging back in case there were these big RPs to counter initiate with them." That's not a hero that we see a whole lot, but that's a very reliable offlaner. Whereas Underlord might be a flavor of the month and is very effective with, like you said, individual skill is very rewarded on Underlord and pubs, but in team communication games, the tide turns on that a little bit.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at the items and just see the huge differential here. Echoes, Magnus and Lifestealer, the Blade Mail, the Aegis, the Veil of Discord, the Boots of Travel. On Z-King, I mean, Lifestealer has the AC, which I think is going to be really difficult for the guys from UCB to come back against that AC because they're just melting in these fights. Yeah, Weaver has a Desolator, but that's it. We've got the Orchid on Storm Spirit, but that's all. He got it at a point where he could have made a big impact on the game. But that moment was a little bit forced, and we saw Don Juan make them pay, and he hasn't been able to bounce back since then. So high ground push goes up, they get themselves the melee racks, and walk away right onto a Weaver, who gets melted down. Underlord's down as well. This should signal their ability to just go in and have their way with this base. No buyback on the Weaver, no buyback on the Underlord. That means at least another set of racks.
Yeah, this is game. The Storm can't do this on his own. They're way too far behind. And remember, there was a decent chunk of this time where Denver was just petering out. They had lost their ability to push onto the towers. They had improperly positioned a couple of fights. But the second this Magnus started getting involved with that Blink Dagger, his positioning has been spotless all game.
Absolutely. So Don Juan going to survive. His team refuses to leave him behind, and he will charge back to Oak, who will make sure that he is safe, standing strong. Ultimate from St. Blue, and they will not yield anything right now. Blackjack comes in from the back, TPs to the Sanctuary to fight on top of it. More TPs coming out, but is it too little too late? Blackjack's going to get caught in a tough position. Can they burn him before he gets away? They do. He popped the mech, and it still wasn't enough. Don Buri in a little bit of trouble, but really not that much. K-Said tries to make the grab, but the Blade Mail is just too strong. Down he goes. Aegis pops up. Oak turns back around, makes it 2. 3. Can they finish the job? And they will. Pops the vision, chases the Slardar. Look at that Ember Spirit bouncing around like a pinball machine. They take 4. Weaver's the only one alive, and he's on the outside trying to find something. The GG comes out, and we are going to a game 3. Gorgon, normally I'd ask you for the banned player of the game right now, but I feel like we can just do a banned play of the game, and that is Don Juan's Blink show, or Blink reveal, if you will, in that mid lane. Game changer, match changer, life changer.
Absolutely.
Guys, my name's Tops. You can find me at Toffees TV. You can find this crazy man at the Gorgon, or at the Wonder Cow. His name is Gorgon. You can find all of us at C Starling. A big shout out to Ace Republic of Gamers, Band, the official social app of CSL, and of course Twitch for making this all possible. Don't go anywhere. We got a match 3 coming up, and it is looking like it's going to be a barn burner. This is Toffees. We'll be back shortly.